Hi everyone and welcome. Cachitos, crescent-shaped bread rolls, typically filled with cooked ham and eaten for breakfast in Venezuela, are irresistible, especially when they are just fresh out of the oven. To make the dough for cachitos, let's pour milk in a small pot. Add to it the sugar and put on the stove to warm it up on medium-low heat. We need the milk to be just slightly warm. As always, I will check it with a finger. When the milk is slightly warm, let's activate the yeast. I will crumble fresh yeast in a small bowl. Add to it a bit of milk and stir to dissolve the yeast. And add a few tablespoons of flour and mix everything well. Let's leave the yeast now for about 10 minutes till it becomes bubbly, foamy and starts to grow. In the meanwhile, let's add 100 grams of butter to the milk and slowly heat the milk to melt the butter. Let's leave the milk now to cool a little, till it is fine to touch. Otherwise, it will be too hot to be added to the yeast and might kill the yeast. Now, let's sift flour in a big bowl and add salt to it. Don't add all the flour at once, leave a bit aside in case you don't need to add all the flour. The milk has cooled, let's pour it in the bowl. Let's also add the 2 eggs. And the foamy bubbly yeast. Now we need to mix everything well to form consistent dough. I will start with a spoon, then mix with my hands. If the dough is too sticky, I add a bit of flour, a tablespoon, half a tablespoon at a time. But after mixing for a bit, to give time for the flour to absorb the liquid. When the dough starts to hold together and separate from the sides of the bowl, I stop adding flour. Let's dust the kitchen countertop with a bit of flour and knead the dough for a few minutes till it is soft and elastic. The dough is soft, so there is not much strength needed to knead it. Let's roll it into a ball, put in a bowl and dust with a little bit of flour. Cover the bowl with a lid or a towel and put in a warm place for the dough to grow till it at least doubles in size. It can take about an hour or two depending on how warm your kitchen or where you put the dough is. In the meanwhile, let's cut the cooked ham and smoked bacon into small pieces and mix so that the bacon is not in lumps. Let's set the oven to heat to 180 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I have a full bowl with the dough now. Let's dust the kitchen countertop with a bit of flour and divide the dough into 2 pieces. That will make 16 big cachitos. If you want them smaller, you can cut the dough in 3 parts. I will put 1 piece back in the bowl and roll the other. Let's roll the dough thin in a big circle. And let's cut it into 8 triangles. I have melted the remaining 60 grams of butter and will lightly brush the dough with it. Now let's take one of the dough triangles and stretch it just a little bit so that it is thinner and wider. And put the filling generously, a few teaspoons or about a tablespoon on the wider end, and roll starting with the corners to close the filling inside. I will make sure there is no opening anywhere and the end of the dough is underneath the cachito. And repeat the process till all cachitos are rolled and shaped. I have a silicone baking mat in the baking tray. You can also use a piece of parchment paper. Let's dust it with a bit of flour and arrange the cachitos on the baking tray, leaving some space between them as they will grow while baking. To brush the cachitos before baking. Let's break an egg in a glass. Add about 2 tablespoons of water and beat it a little with a fork. And let's put the cachitos to bake for about 15 to 20 minutes till they are lightly brown. Let's remove cachitos from the oven and brush with the remaining melted butter while they're hot. They will look shinier and the butter will also soften them. Let them cool a little before removing from the baking tray and enjoy. Thank you for joining me today and see you next week. Bye!